My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and today we're going to talk about balancing our hormones, especially when it comes to weight loss. So today's topic is titled Balancing Your Hormones and Weight Loss. So many times I get asked questions about hormones, and specifically in relation to why or why not someone can lose weight. And so today I wanted to jump on here to really help debunk a lot of garbage that is just out there on the internet. There's so many women who are getting led down a very, very tough path when it comes to hormones. And I want to give you here's some things to actually focus on before we start doing any HRT, before we start really messing with things, because if we haven't done these foundational things first, you are playing with fire. And so I can come on here and say this very loud and very clear because of what I have personally experienced and just what I've witnessed with countless women over and over and over again, just coaching them with weight loss. And so balancing your hormones is a key factor in achieving sustainable weight loss. Like, there's no secret that if your hormones are wrecked, are jacked, that it is going to be more challenging to see weight loss, but it is not the reason that you are not losing weight. So I want to speak into this topic very heavily for my women who are 40 plus, and especially as you're experiencing changes in perimenopause, menopause, because this is absolutely going to affect your metabolism, your appetite, your fat storage. And so I want to speak into here's what we can do to truly balance your hormones and support real, genuine weight loss that lasts for life. And so again, before you go running to your doctor and asking for different hormones, we need to make sure that we're addressing the foundation first. The reason I can speak so intimately on this was I had 26 extra pounds on my body. I felt like a wreck. I wasn't sleeping. My hair was falling out. My nails were brittle. I mean, I had all kinds of just symptoms. And every time I went to go get my blood levels checked, of course, things were not in the right spot, but I had been in a very, very challenging season of life. I was not eating well. I was not sleeping well. I was working out like a crazy woman. And what I had to do is I had to go down this really deep path. But the reason I had to go down this path is so that I can help women like you who are listening, who are trying to find the right solutions, who have been beating their head against the wall, trying to piece this all together. And I'm going to make it really, really simple. It's going to be so simple that you actually will most likely dismiss what I'm trying to say. But if you actually take these things and actually implement them, I can guarantee that you will see results, and then we can start addressing any deficiencies, any solutions that may require some HRT. I am not anti-hormone replacement therapy, and all the studies that were put out, I believe back in the 80s, have all since been debunked. I believe we have modern medicine and things at our access for a reason, but I also believe that there's a lot of supplementation and high quality supplements that can absolutely absolutely impact your hormones in a positive way. So let's dig into this because this is a super, super deep topic, but I want to make it very, very simple. So first and foremost, we have to make sure that we have a diet that is focused on balancing your hormones. So if you're taking in sugar or processed food, so any type of excess sugar, refined carbs, this is going to lead to insulin resistance. This is probably the number one factor as to why women have gained weight. The thing that sucks in our perimenopausal and menopausal time is we put the weight on right on our abdomen. It goes straight to the gut, straight to the butt, straight to the thighs, and it happens like clockwork. But if you are continuing to take in way too much sugar, and now here's the thing, you may not even realize like where sugar is coming in. I mean, I have found it in ketchup, just with our kids. I've found it in it's just been wild. Number one, they should not be able to give you a drink that has more than a daily serving of sugar. I mean, that if I were in charge, I would make sure that none of that is even possible. We should not drink our calories. Okay. So we have to really address how much sugar we're actually taking in and how many of our foods are actually processed. Now, this isn't to say that all processed foods are bad, and processed foods in moderation can be fine, but you have to really understand, is this supporting my hormones and balancing? And is this creating a deficit enough in order to see the desired weight loss? Three other places that I see that we miss is we miss healthy fats, we miss prioritizing protein, and then we also miss fiber. So let's talk about fats first. So fats get missed because we grew up in a culture of fat-free, reduced fat. I buy everything full fat, butter. All my Greek yogurt, my cottage cheese, anything that I purchase, none of it is reduced fat, low fat. The reason for that is for it to be low fat, reduced fat, fat-free, they're going to put something else in there to actually make it more palatable. So just avoid that like the plague. You want to have full fats, but then also think about things like avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, avocado oil. These are all going to help regulate leptin, which is one of your hunger hormones. So we want to have a certain amount of healthy fats, and something that I am wildly in tune with is helping you figure out what do these macronutrients need to actually look like for you personally. They're a little bit different for everybody, but there are some general numbers that tend to work. The other piece of this is prioritizing protein. If you've hung out with me for any amount of time, I am constantly preaching protein. What protein does is it's going to support your muscle maintenance. So making sure that you don't lose muscle as you age. And it's also going to help balance a hormone called ghrelin, which is a hunger hormone. So this is going to help you stay feeling full longer. So protein takes longer to metabolize in your body, which is a good thing. And so it's going to help you stay feeling full. You also partner it with a nice healthy fat, and you've got a really good winning combination. And then to also support this, we want to think about having fiber-rich foods. So fiber is going to help with your gut. It's also going to help balance your estrogen levels by aiding in its excretion. So you want to think about, okay, how many fruits, how many veggies, what am I taking in that has fiber? Now, before you go running out to the grocery store and buying everything in your brother that has high fiber on the label, just be careful with that. First off, if it has a label, it's probably in a box or something like that, and we want to stick away from that. But something, for example, like bread. what I found so fascinating, I literally am that person that goes to the grocery store and I literally laid out all the breads, looking at all of their labels. And what was so crazy was the high fiber bread actually had less fiber than just a whole wheat loaf. So, and here's the thing, I have completely been converted to a sourdough person. I do not make it. I maybe at some point I will consider that, but I have really gotten into just getting us a fresh loaf from the bakery at the grocery store. And man, it's been such a treat. It's been so nice. And there's just so many additional health benefits, but just don't get duped by the labels. Remember, that is marketing. Another thing to really think about is balancing your omegas and omega-6 intake. So omega-3 and your omega-6 intake. So omega-3 is your fatty acid. This is the stuff that's found in like fatty fish, flaxseed, walnuts. And what it's going to do is it's going to help reduce inflammation and support hormonal health. Omega-6s come into our life with a lot of highly processed foods, fast foods. And so it's something that we want to try to minimize how much omega-6 we're actually taking in. And most likely, most of us need to supplement, especially for us landlocked people who are not getting access to good quality fresh fish. You're going to need to supplement with some sort of fish oil omega-3 supplement. The other thing that we don't talk about enough is the chronic stress that we have been under. We have come out of a pandemic. We've gone into a highly volatile election year. To say stress is at an all-time high, I mean, just scroll social media and you can instantly see. What's important about this is we need to understand our cortisol and our regulation of our cortisol. So chronic stress is going to raise your cortisol levels. This is going to increase your fat storages, especially in the abdomen. So you want to think about, okay, man, have I been under high, heavy stress for a long time? And for a lot of you listening, you may say, yeah, dude, it's been pretty tough. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough decade. It's been a tough few years, and I can 100% sympathize with that. I personally, this number for me is off the charts. And so we just started tracking very deep into our own blood levels. And I could not believe, I feel like I have done a lot of things to really manage stress, but my blood work shows otherwise. So things that I really practice is meditation, breathing exercises. I also do hot and cold therapies and have been working on increasing the frequency of it. So we want to think about what are all the ways that we can reduce stress. One thing that we did, which, I can appreciate not everyone can do, is we 100% changed how we operate our business. We no longer have an in-person brick and mortar gym, and with that, pulling our stress levels down. That it got very stressful in the last few years, coming off of the pandemic and just the whole political level that our city was under. There was just a lot that went into that business. And so by removing that, I'm even hoping that just with time, I'm going to notice that these levels get better and better just because of that. But it's something to really think about. And as women, I feel like we tolerate a lot. And so we want to look at what is stressing us out in our life. If it's our kids, okay, cool. What can we do to really get on a better level with our kids? I know a lot of different techniques that I've personally done. I know when our kids are rested, they are a million times like more tolerable, less fighting, less, flopping on the ground and crying and, just helping them understand how to work through emotions. I mean, they're young and we've got to really nurture them, but man, it's so quick to just say, stop crying, get over it, whatever. And you're not helping them work through things. And so, I just think about all the different challenges we go through. If work is stressing you out, is it worth it? From being someone who has owned my own business for pretty much all of my career, I can't imagine walking into a job that stressed me as much as I hear some women talk about how stressful their job is. And so it's something to even consider. Is this the right environment for you? Is this where you're called to be? Or are you just showing up because it's what you've always done? And it's something to really think about, especially when it comes to managing your stress levels and understanding your hormones and how much cortisol does play in to increased fat storage. So while we're on that theme, on the flip side of this, a whole nother way to help support hormones is getting adequate sleep. And this is like so cliche. It's so uncool to talk about this, but I feel that I need to talk about this because I don't feel enough of us are getting quality sleep. When you don't get enough sleep, we're not getting proper melatonin. We're increasing or disrupting hormones like leptin and ghrelin, which is going to make you hungry. And so you don't crave a chicken breast. You're craving, sugar and carbs. And so we have to really consider getting 7 to 9 hours. And for a lot of us, we need more like that 9 hour. For myself, I've worked heavily to get 7 quality hours. And what I know is I have to be in bed. For me, I used to crave staying up at night, having my own time, but all I know that led to was eating more food, staying up way past, watching trash on TV, and ultimately I'd pop open a bottle of wine. And so for myself, I knew that I had to fall in love with going to bed literally after I put the kids to bed. But what I really have learned to enjoy and love is that time to myself in the morning. I like to get up pretty early, but again, it's making sure that I've been able to get 7 hours of sleep. And in order for me to get 7 hours of sleep, I must be in bed around 8 hours. So you really want to play with that and see what works best for you. Another piece that we want to think about is how active are we? Are we getting 10,000 steps a day? If we're not getting 10,000 steps, that is absolutely something I want you to work towards, especially because this is going to help maintain our lean tissue. It's going to help improve insulin sensitivity. If you're not hitting even 5,000 steps, I encourage you to hit 5. When you've successfully hit 5, you've got to hit 75. And this is something that I want you to fall in love with. The other thing that we want to move into is progressive resistance training. You want to have a program that is 4, 6, 8 weeks, and you follow a proper designed program where you're focusing on the major lifts. You've got your ancillary lifts, and it's not too much volume, but you do know that you worked out. Gone are the days that we need to do endless bouts of cardio or HIIT training, that cool video that you saw on TikTok. Like, those are things that I want you to steer clear from, because if we create too much inflammation, if we are too sore, we are raising our cortisol levels and we are not creating a good environment for weight loss or even balancing your hormones. So you want to think about strength training that builds your muscle, which again is only going to help you regulate your insulin and is absolutely going to increase your metabolism. So it's going to increase the rate that you burn your calories. It gives you more wiggle room when it comes to how many calories can you consume in a day. The other thing that you want to think about is, how is your gut? The gut is something that we don't even begin to understand everything that we should understand about our gut microbiome. There's so many linked studies to depression, anxiety. I think about how many times I've been on an antibiotic just in my young adolescent, just growing up. You have a virus, here's an antibiotic. That's how it was when we grew up, right, wrong, whatever. Thankfully we evolve, but it can trash your gut microbiome. And we should always give some sort of a probiotic or prebiotic, especially when we're giving antibiotics. It's something that, I'm very, very thankful that we're so aware of this stuff now, but it's important for us to understand that we do need to make sure that our gut is working properly. For most people, they do have a leaky gut or symptoms of what is going to be a leaky gut. And the other thing that we really want to lean into is what is irritating your gut? Do you know if gluten sits well with you? Do you know if dairy, because this will contribute to hormonal imbalances. For myself, I take in very, very minimal dairy. I absolutely use creamer in my coffee every day. I definitely use cheese and different recipes or heavy whipping cream, but it's not something that I consume like I used to. I used to consume a lot of cheese. The other thing to think about with dairy is like in alcohol, in beer, things like that. You don't think about this stuff, but it's not natural for us to take this stuff in, and it can cause a lot of GI issues. And the thing too, is like with our gut is like so strong, but is it? And that's the thing too. It's hard to know if this is actually working. Is it not? The other thing that we want to really think about is balancing our hormones through supplements. Supplementation can be just this huge, crazy, like, what should I take? How much should I take? And some things that I highly recommend is vitamin D. This is going to help just overall hormonal regulation, your metabolism. Most of us are deficient. Magnesium is another one. This is going to help reduce cortisol levels. It helps support insulin sensitivity. Omega-3s, which we talked about earlier, is going to reduce inflammation and balance hormones as well. And then we could go on. For each person, there is going to be different things. There's different supplementation that would be helpful for thyroid, for example. There's different supplementation that can be helpful for progesterone and estrogen. I mean, there's so many different things. And the thing that I encourage you to find a provider that can help you kind of sift through what should I be taking? What are my actual levels? But if we're not addressing all these other things, such as your sleep, such as your nutrition, such as your activity and your strength training, if we haven't spent a good year really working on this, losing 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, I would not go down the HRT until you have successfully done those things. Because 9 times out of 10, what we haven't done is we haven't created enough of a deficit. Our lifestyle choices are not supporting seeing the results that you desire on the scale versus are my hormones jacked? That is just such a common thing that I have with women. And even myself, I was like, what in the world is going on? But when I was being completely honest with myself, I wasn't sleeping. When I was being completely honest with myself, I was not eating well. When I was being completely honest with myself, I was drinking too much. Just those things alone were not allowing my hormones to be balanced or allowing me to create a deficit to see proper weight loss. So I get very bullish on this topic because there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of take this and all your life problems are solved. And I want to come in from a very science standpoint and from doing the research myself, experiencing this myself, and also coaching countless women through this. Your hormones will get better when you address the foundation, which is sleep, which is nutrition, which is proper exercise. You can absolutely see weight loss. Then it is appropriate to take your blood labs and to have complete profiles that, just isn't your normal CBC. This is all of your hormones. This is your micronutrients. This is your gut health. I mean, it's getting very, very detailed on what's actually going on inside before we just start injecting ourselves, putting patches on ourselves, creams on ourselves. And this isn't to knock the HRT. I think HRT is absolutely beneficial at certain times, but we need to actually understand what's actually going on. And that's by addressing the foundational pieces. This is why I created a program where Step one is getting the foundation laid. We have to get the foundation laid with your nutrition, with your sleep and recovery, with your hydration, and doing it enough that we do get ourselves into what step two is, and that is rapid fat loss. Fat loss does not have to take forever. And once you've got the foundation firm, it's wild how quickly, and I'm using air quotes, there is 1 to 2 pounds per week. That is very, very normal. But I watch this with woman after woman after woman. And then at step 3 of the process, we've lost our weight, and now what we want to do is we want to truly optimize, like, how lean can I get? What look can I do? I mean, this is where it gets really, really fun. And it's a fun process to go through because you've lost majority of your weight. So I hope this has been helpful, and I know you have specific questions for you. I want you to DM me on any social medias. It's just Arin, Arin, Lindauer's Lindauer, and let's get to the truth of what's really going on with your body. We don't have to keep sifting through all the different strategies, things, marketing that you're seeing out there, but let's get to the root cause of what's actually going on in your body. And when you can solve this problem and you can create the caloric deficit, not only are you going to lose weight, but your hormones will absolutely get better. It can be done. So hit me up, shoot me all of your questions, and would be happy to help. All right, go get them, ladies.